G2 start on defense, Spacestation on attack. So, a slight edge here to G2, but Spacestation had that same edge in the previous map, Bank. They started on defense and they couldn't make anything happen with it, so it might not really matter in the end. This is just gonna come down to which team is more proficient on this map. I wholeheartedly believe that. I want this to go all the way to OT. I want this to be as close as it possibly can be. I'm fearful, though, that it might just be a one-sided affair.
Yeah, I mean, there's no team that I cheer for. You know what I cheer for? I cheer for a good match, Michael.
Yep, that's my philosophy.
So Dev Marta can sigh a little bit of a relief here, as it's not a Jackal ban, as he was a little worried about. It's a Ying ban instead. Obviously, G2 not really wanting to deal too much with a Ying. With Ying off the board, it also means that a Jaeger is not always necessary for defending here, and we'll see if G2 decides to forego the operator. They might still have to worry about grenades, though. It's going to be a Mira and Maestro ban to round things out. With Maestro getting banned by G2, not a surprise. You play Spacestation, you're almost always going to ban Maestro. You're going to ban Maestro a lot of the time just based on stats anyway, but it seems to be a must ban. Very similar to how Valk is a must ban against a team like Norarengo. We'll start off with G2 on defense. They'll go upstairs to Aviator and Games. Tends to be your default site to start on, though we have seen teams roll the die with Trophy and Statuary. Very rare to see a team go downstairs, try the living room library, or towards that kitchen site as well. You save those for later on. You start with Aviator Games. It's a 6-pick onto a Jackal, off of the Glass for Rampy, and off of the Mute, a Pulse for Jonas.
Attackers need to locate and defuse bombs.
Standard setup here. Again, G2 making full use of Vigil. They seem to really like this operator. I like that bulletproof camera inside of A, or Games Room. It's gonna give you full visual over the site, minus the bar, which is, you know, some information that you're not gonna have, but makes sense. Not gonna be a Valkyrie brought, so information ops are available such as Valkyrie in this situation, but not something that G2 thinks is necessary. We've seen Pulse being brought in lieu of Valkyrie quite a lot recently, especially at this event.
10 seconds
and
to
we've
go.
seen an odd downturn in terms of IQ's pick rate, or so it seems,
5 seconds to
at least
insertion.
in this first round, Spacestation's not gonna bring her.
G2 have not had to play in a decider map since the group stage of the Paris Major. That takes us all the way back to August.
That is a statement and a half there for Spacestation.
That is quite a while.
No, they had a perfect streak through group stages at this event, going all the way into this match. I mean, they were looking very, very strong.
G2, of course, not Spacestation.
Yes, we're talking about G2 right now.
Now, worth noting a bit of stats just on these two teams. G2's body of work on Villa, not actually as large as you'd expect. Yeah, there is that very memorable matchup in which Secret was able to take down G2. It was a real barn burner of a game where Leon Gids decided to just go Hulk mode and smash everything that ran across his path. But since then, G2's play on Villa is really limited, actually. They played it once in the group stages against Mocket. They won 7-3. The time before that, you can go back to when they played it against Empire in DreamHack Winter. Fabian's going to get a good start, though, on the stairs. He gets pressured by the Logic Bombs. Dev Marta said that Logic Bombs don't do enough. Well, in that case, he's absolutely correct. Welcome to the analyst desk, Dev. You nailed it.
Now Rampy on the Jackal, a very powerful operator to lose early on, and because of that, a lot of these roamers aren't going to get cleared out. Well, at least it's going to be harder. But with the way that G2 has been playing, I don't think it really matters. I mean, the utility that that Spacestation are bringing on attack isn't being used very well to clear out the... Oh, that's actually potentially a foot that's exposed, and yes, it is! Shala lands the pixel shot onto Fabian, and that's good control of main stairs. It will prompt Engu to fall all the way back. Well-positioned Yokai drone there from Goga is going to be able to call out the push on the main stairs for the majority of the round.
Good intel that'll be available to G2, as you noted, in Spacestation lacking an IQ, lacking a twitch. You'll rely on either your eyes or a Thatcher to possibly give you sight on the Yokai. Of course, an EMP from Thatcher doesn't destroy the Yokai, it just disables it for a short period of time. But what it does is it detaches the Yokai from the ceiling, and the Yokai just kind of floats on the ground, making static noises and flashing blue as it ejects a variety of sparks, making it very visible. So Thatcher, maybe not a direct counter, but at least one good enough to find the Yokais where needed.
G2 G2 are well set up here. There's only 35 seconds. It's a very slow attack from Spacestation. They only have control of Study. Nobody's even pushing the main hallway right now on the west side. Chala's eating some damage, and it's not going to bode well for the actual site push. Bosco goes for a rush outside, trying to come up from behind, but meanwhile, the site pushers, Redeemer and Chala, will be shut out. It's just going to be Thinking Nate and Bosco doing their best. Bosco's going to take down Kantaraketi. That's huge, but look at the time, and no diffuser in hand. He's going to try to go for the plant, but I don't think it's possible at this point. Two of the last defenders holding the push on the diffuser carrier, and it's an easy lockout for G2. Nice round from SSG, but not enough.
Even if you take out Goga and Pengu, you've still got Jonas underneath as the pulse, with the C4 in hand, with the cardiac sensor, which means that when you go to plant, you're gonna get blown sky high. So really, that round was lost with about 30 seconds left when Spacestation realized that a 2v3, let's take the site. But at your own peril, you ignore probably the most critical operator, which is the one who can blow you up from below. Things going according to plan for the defense here. Very similar to a map like Clubhouse, Villa is a very defender-sided match. And when we say that, it's the most defender-sided map by stats heading into this event. I mentioned G2's record on it, but you can look over at Spacestation. They've actually played it a whack at times. They played it in Pro League against Evil Geniuses to start off the season. They lost 7-3. They lost to Stream right after Bosco had joined the roster in DreamHack Winter. First set of new rules for Pro League being debuted. It was an 8-6 victory for Stream, but then since then, Spacestation have only played it 2 other times. They actually avoided playing it through the qualifiers. And in the groups, they played it against Rogue, they won 7-4. And then with the game on the line against Immortals, they played it 7-5 and won.
I have to imagine that with the way that the bank record was set up for Spacestation, I'm sure they were expecting to have a slightly better result there. If not a victory, at least coming a little bit closer than a 7-3. So going here onto Villa's not very likely to be exactly what Spacestation wanted out of this best of 3. But that doesn't mean they're totally out of it. I think the fact that they're going to be starting on attack is going to be one of the biggest factors in the outcome of this match. But I don't know, Clubhouse started to seem to go the way of G2 for the same reason. They started on defense, they won their first defensive half, 5-1. You end a half 5-1, and then SSG managed to bring it back and end it 8-7 SSG's favor. That's crazy, and it's possible that G2's gonna rack up a 5-1 scoreline on this map and we'll see the same exact thing happen, a complete reverse. Who knows?
This is when we theory crafted that. Well, is that 8-7 victory for Spacestation on Clubhouse just how close this match is going to be between the two teams?
Yeah.
Or is it because it's SSG's map pick, it just shows how close and competitive G2 is on maps they might not be the most familiar with?
True.
And it's going to be put to the test here solely because Spacestation has played this map so many times that there should be a lot more familiarity, though it's a double-edged sword because there will be a lot of VODs for G2 to be able to review, providing Spacestation doesn't bring anything new. Now, the entry downstairs, endeavor for Spacestation is to take dining room and kitchen, continue onto the stairs, and push on up. Very similar to Aviator games. Somebody playing as a Pulse, maybe a Valkyrie, maybe a Mute, somebody with a C4 that can have information at their disposal down below. You do so and you ignore them once again at your peril. Fabian playing on Astronomy stairs. He's got his back turned to a body and he'll lose it to Rampy. Bad timing from Fabian to turn and expose his back. And G2 will now rotate on over towards the Astro side of things, as that appears to be where Spacestation is stacked on up.
I mean, that early frag is going to be so big for Spacestation. The attack looking to push over to Astronomy right now. We've got somebody coming from below in Astro Stairs, somebody coming from the side, and meanwhile on the roam, Jonas is going to take down Chala. The rest of the attackers are all positioned to push in from Master and Astronomy. Redeemer's gonna eliminate Goga. A rush here from Pengu will net a kill and a diffuser down on the floor. Not planted, but now isolated by the defenders. Bosco's gonna try and retake it. He will pick up that diffuser. Pengu will let it happen. Just trying to hold on to Statuary for as long as possible. Jonas sees the holes made by his enemy, but cannot land the shots. Thinking Nade will take out one, but what a shot from Jonas. Extremely tight angle to use that SMG 11 on. Shotgun out now, waiting for the push from Master. He has information from the Yokai drones to tell him, yes, indeed, there is somebody coming from the Master side of things. But look at the time. So little still available to the attacking team. Rampy will take down Jonas, though, so Statuary has full control for Space Station. He's planting exposed, though. Cantor could deny this, and he's going to win the fight. He will not win the follow-up, though. Bosco wins those, and Space Station take the round.
Dylan Bosco, what a remarkable move. To lose, his teammate falls off at the right time. And man, you have to know if you're getting marked that much. Have somebody look for that Yokai. It might take a second or two. They are quite tricky to see, of course, because they do cloak on the roof, but they're still visible to most people if you look hard enough. So, what's the goal for Space Station on attack? Well, on Villa, if you don't win 4 rounds on defense, then I would say you emerge from your defensive side at a loss. Most teams will want to be able to take 4. You'll take Aviator twice. Conceivably, you take Trophy Statuary twice. You might lose Kitchen, you might lose Living Room, or you might win Kitchen once, you might lose Trophy, etc. If Space Station can string together just 1 more round, they're in pretty good shape to move on forward. Because Aviator Games is going to be locked for yet another round, it's an opportunity for G2 to do something different. But no, it'll be another defense, Trophy and Statuary. See if things can go according to plans. All things considered. This is a phrase that I have used today, because you have to consider all the things, Michael.
All things considered, I agree with you.
Thank you very much for considering them. Is that G2 narrowly lost that round. Very narrowly. It was almost an incredible clutch.
It's true.
Until Raketti.
10 seconds remaining.
He hesitates a little bit less. Lands a couple shots on thinking they'd faster.
5 seconds
Bosco's
remaining.
dead meat.
I'm honestly surprised there was any hesitation there on Cantor-Ketty's side. I would have expected a pre-fire and then some. The fact that there was a Yokai drone calling out the push the whole time from Master, surprising that Kanto didn't have enough information to make that happen. I also suppose it makes sense that he wasn't expecting Bosco to come off the plant. But, like we said, Bosco wins those. And good game sense to come off that plant at the right moment and go for the fight onto Cantor-Ketty, just taking it one-on-one and winning it outright. And that's really what it comes down to. As you said, so close, Space Station, Bosco specifically, won a 1v1, and that's how the round went SSG's favor.
A couple close rounds like that can be the difference between a win and a loss.
Absolutely.
That's how close it ends up coming, right?
I mean, look no further than Clubhouse previously in this matchup. We had a lot of close rounds there.
So, round number 3, it's going to be a second defense for G2 on the Trophy Statuary site. The Yokai gets spotted at Gogan. It's going on a mission down below. Bosco possibly could have been able to pick it off, but he lost it to the catacombs underneath the Italian villa.
There's also going to be Pulse down there, if I'm not mistaken, is possibly also Fabian, actually. Yeah, there, look at that, a duo roam under the site. Cantor-Ketty gets the first kill onto Rampy, trying to clear from the south side, or so it seems. He's shut down in that attempt. What a shot from Child of the fadeaway on Dionis. Nice and even here. Lots of information just squelched on G2's side. Not having the pulse is going to be huge when the site push comes out.
Under normal circumstances, the fact that you did almost all of Cantor-Ketty's health away is a dock, so he's just able to get himself right back up. So there's really nothing gained from Space Station in that altercation. They just lose Rampy, and with it, the only set of frag grenades that was possible to be thrown out from Space Station. As I predicted, there hasn't been a Jaeger being played by G2. They don't really need it in this composition with what they're working with.
Those holes being made in the master wall again by Habana. Just a very small prone hole to try and disrupt the rotation between sites. I like that Space Station are doing that because it does make G2 think more about their positioning and the avenues they have available to them. Goga's gonna be such an important player here. If he's able to get some kills, he will help his team quite significantly, and he's holding on to Astronomy the best he can. That's one for him, going for a second. Gets to a new angle, and it's a much more powerful one. Cantor-Ketty also able to get his second kill, and there's 2 for Goga as well. Can he get the third? No. Fabian steals it, and G2 take the round.
Desperation, lots of hesitation, and that is ultimately the story for Space Station through that, the final minute. Thank you very much. They work on those.
Yeah.
They work on those a lot. But, I mean, you look at Space Station's push, and it comes mostly all from the master side, it comes all from the bathroom side. You've got one of their members on rappel on the window, happen to be thinking nade, and their entry. possibly could have aided those players to establish control below, didn't go anywhere. A lot of that credit needs to be paid to G2's ability to evade all the drones that were thrown at them. So congratulations, G2. They now move to Aviator Games to see if they can replicate the great round that they started off with, which was an absolutely incredible performance. Need to remind you, it ended up being was it a 1v3 or 2v3 with a pulse down below, so an almost unwinnable situation for Spacestation. If you're SSG, you have to tighten up your entry. 2 rounds now, you have failed to do the work that is needed out of that main floor and push the defenders back. That's it. It's really what it's going to come down to. We'll see if they can do it this time around. Villa is a big map. You need to be well coordinated. You need to be able to consistently have information. We mentioned that the drone economy is important on every single map. It is particularly important on Villa because that neglected basement can be home to roamers and can be used for full map rotates. If you don't have a Claymore on flank watch, if you don't have a drone on flank watch, or even just a living being on flank watch, there's many ways that you can be caught off guard here on Villa. We've seen it on Aviator Games with a lack of control on 90 in Classical Hallway. People can literally just walk right up, and if you got your back turned to them, you're seated at the bar or you're seated by the billiards table, and you're gone. It's that simple.
SSG seem to be going for a study take again, which is a little bit risky, but they brought an IQ, which will help them quite a lot. We've talked about how powerful IQ is, especially on Villa. She can go underneath and not only hunt down operators like Pulse or Vigil, but also, on top of that, clear out a lot of electronics from below. Vertical play on Villa is very powerful, if you can put yourself in a position to use it as an attacker. There's often a lot of layers of defense to deny you that exact play, though, and it's a hard thing to accomplish, especially against a team like G2 who roams so very much.
Bomb located by attackers.
You see Charles is waiting for an opportunity, but it's Fabian who will present it, and Chala shuts him down. Nice headshot there.
It's a mirror matchup that we saw before with Chala, but Chala was playing on the Dokkaebi last time. He knew Fabian was on the stairs, so he pushed on up, saw his foot, and he got the opening kill.
He knows that Fabian's going to be playing there because Fabian has been consistently playing on those main stairs.
Well, I mean, if you're not going to sit on 90, it makes sense that you'd put the person who'd usually play there, watching over on Vault, over on one of the staircases, try and police that first floor. And a lot of teams have stopped putting somebody at 90 because you're exposed to the window, and you're also exposed from 2 separate angles. It's a rare bandit trick, but Jonas will get at least 1 full round of XKaros. It's the first 4 and then the next 2. This little crouch hole that's established by Bosco can be watched over by the smoke of Pengu. Chala, great entry. I'll be looking for a reset here as he picks up his second kill on the Kanto Raketti, and we hit the final minute in the round. Kanto being on Vigil means that it's soul fragging potential that you've taken out, but also the off-site presence that we mentioned that Spacestation needs to do better on finding. They've done it so far this round. How can they do on the execute? Well, Bosco takes out Pengu. There's only 2 bodies left for G2 left on site. Well, the Jonas and Goga. What will help G2 is the fact that Spacestation are all quite softened up, and Jonas will be on the move. Fighting through the wall over towards the 90 in Classical Hallway doorway, but he can't find anything, possibly allowing Goga to come on in. The IQ will walk up. Bosco trying to take a fight, but he can't do it. Many marks for Jonas. That's a C4 waiting to happen. But there goes Goga, and Jonas can't unleash it in time. 2 quick kills from Spacestation will give them the win on Aviator Games, and these 2 teams cannot shake one another. 2 rounds on attack for Spacestation is good, but they're going to need more to walk away happy with this round and this half.
That was all things considered just a really well-paced attack from Spacestation. A big part of that was the fact that they were never taking any engagements that seemed to be to their disadvantage by fully committing to them. Lots of baits there with the peaks. Lots of angles that Spacestation played in their best attempt to, well, get G2 to pre-fire into a location that was not where they would actually see their demise from. Bosco pushing in, for example, into Aviator. I mean, everybody on G2 in that last, well, the last couple seconds of that round were focused on the west hallway. And Aviators is free. It's a free push. Spacestation had a lot of that. Chala got those 2 early frags, starting on Fabian, of course, and then later another on those roamers. And after that was taken care of, the anchors, not in a great spot. SSG completely circled around the site. The only place they were not pushing in from that was easily accessible would be for the North Hall. And that's understandable in that situation.
I'd like to have seen the wherewithal of Jonas to be able to toss that C4 out in the doorway.
Yeah, it would have been nice if he
You
had
had 3
done that.
marks, just go for it, why not?
I'm surprised he didn't, to be honest. I mean, they were up against a wall. Usually in that situation, you try to make as many plays as you can to bring it back in your favor.
The only real risk with that is that you are vulnerable for a couple seconds as you pull out the C4, toss the C4, and then pull out your phone and hit the button to detonate it. And if somebody from Space Station hears the rip of the C4, they have enough time to possibly react and get you before the explosive goes off.
Well, as we discussed, when you're down so much manpower, you got to take risks.
Take the chance.
To get back in, yeah. Well, didn't happen, and life moves on.
Life is actually moving on to Kitchen, Michael.
Yes, G2 going to be defending Kitchen as their next site, and that's curious. So, unable to defend AVG, they managed it the first time, second time they didn't, but they don't repeat it, they just adjust, and to Kitchen, no less, which is, I don't know, I suppose I'm just a little bit surprised by G2. I figured they would have doubled down on AVG, tried to defend it again, but no. I mean, there's some really easily correctable mistakes that G2 made in that last defense. For example, Fabian playing on the main stairs. Just don't play him there, or maybe play him in a much safer position. There are other options.
This is a smart play by Kanto Ricchetti, so he's completely exposed. He sees the drone, he shoots the drone, and then just stays still and activates his cloaking. So that if you go to drone the area, you think, surely he must have moved. Nope, he's still sitting right there. Just like a statue.
Bomb located by
positioned in a good position. Oh, Chala pulled the trigger. He could have gotten it. He doesn't know, though. The outlines are just for us, not for him. There's 2 bodies around the doorway leading into Trophy, and it's been 90 seconds so far as the toxic canister is going to go off. Down goes Bosco. Kanto Ricchetti thriving as Fabian is there as well. Caught in a crossfire, a trap laid by G2, and it will continue to roll on. It's a lockout as Redeemer will need to clutch against all 4 members of G2 that are still upright. There's still some marks, but frag grenade or an impact grenade gets tossed his way. Redeemer sees the elbow. Kanto around one of the pieces of furniture will finish this off. And G2 looking strong as it's like a pendulum swinging back and forth between these 2 teams. It's 3-2 in favor of G2. And it's their final defensive round. Remember what we said, on Villa, you need at minimum 4 defensive victories. If G2 doesn't get it here, that's a big win overall for Space Station heading into their defense.
A big part of that round for G2 was the murder box that you can see displayed just now, set up in the main hallway at the top of the middle stairs. I'm surprised, honestly, that SSG did not drone that out. They seem to have a little bit of information after they started engaging people at that point, but it was too late. You need to know that there's somebody playing on middle stairs and also by the statuary entrance before you start making that push. Space Station didn't, and it really cost them. In fact, the whole round. The pushover by Laundry was also stopped pretty handily from G2, an easy feat considering it was a very linear push and there was plenty of counter utility from the defense, denying that entrance to the site. Now, moving forward, G2 will go to Statue Trophy. This is a site that has had mixed results so far for G2. 1 loss, 1 success. Success coming much more recently. And if I'm not mistaken, it was also a lockout, complete domination for G2, where Space Station were primarily coming, that was a bit of a mistake. Or, no, you got it there. There you go. Space Station were coming primarily from Master and Master Bathroom. And they stacked up on Master Bathroom. Goga held it down as the Echo behind the Astronomy desk. It was a pretty easy hold for G2. There was also a lot of crossfires that G2 were playing, and Space Station, since they had such a linear push, really didn't have a whole lot of options after they started losing their fights.
So we look at this round with 30 seconds in right now. The main stumbling block on this site last time was clearing below. And then the presence to push onto Astro after 2 bodies were lost. Why are you shaking your head, Michael? Why are you shaking your head, Michael? What did you see that you didn't like?
What are you talking about?
In-game.
Oh, nothing. It just, it's the way that we're seeing the take come out yet again here from SSG. This time they're gathering a lot more information, but once again, they're not clearing out underneath. There is no pulse in play here for G2, which is definitely great, but
all of SSG just appeared to vault right into the closet. As there's
all at once, yeah.
Rampy and Bosco there, Chala is below, so there you go. You do have the Jackal below, so a good correction there from SSG is thinking they will go back onto the same window. You're right, this is the exact same setup right now.
It's just a slow rotate there for the Jackal. And one thing that really scares me is that Space Station are putting it all on him to do that. But luckily for them, there are no players underneath. What is that? An easy kill for Rampy as Jonas goes for a way too late bandit trick. That was not a good calculation nor count on the side of Jonas.
It's like, what are you doing at that point?
I don't know.
Here, I might as well put it down.
I don't need it. It's
maybe this wall.
It's heavy.
Yeah, I don't want it anymore.
Pengu's going to be playing proximity on Master Bedroom. Nobody has drawn him out yet, and he's going for an aggressive push. Sees the Claymore, shoots it, and an easy flank. Bosco goes down. Surprise, nobody from SSG is watching that.
But here's Fabian yet again on the stairs leading up to Astro. Here's Goga yet again inside of Astro. But Fabian dispatched. There's a Jaeger on the board, but there's no ADS to possibly take that frag grenade out. So Goga's still inside of Astro, uncontested for the time being. He's gonna see Thinking Nade. There's another body coming on in. Goga trying to outduel the Jackal, but there's a crossfire established by Kanto. And he takes out Chala. Goga will get picked back up because of the stim pistol from Kanto, but there's not much time to work with for Space Station. And they know that as G2 circles in on them, this could be a troubling prospect. There's Pengu playing around the banister to take out Rampy. And once again, I've said so many times, Redeemer all by his lonesome. He'll win the fight against Goga, but not against Kanto. And it's a 4-2 scoreline for G2 as we switch sides between the two teams.
All things considered, 2 rounds attacking, that's pretty good for Space Station. They'll be going to defense now, much more comfortable position. But a lot of those rounds for G2 did look very dominant. We have to recognize that. Great rotations, great gunplay from G2 overall, and wow. I mean, especially, for example, Goga, as you just saw him eliminated inside of Astronomy. He was such an important player defending Trophy, holding onto Astronomy for the majority of that match. Well, half for G2.
This is where you want to be for G2.
Yeah, I mean, it's a comfortable spot, but also for Space Station, again, just managing to get 2 rounds at least, it's manageable. And remember what happened on Clubhouse? SSG got 1 round on attack.
Through this entire series, the only time that Space Station has led was after round 1 of Map 2. Because they didn't lead at all in Map 1 on Clubhouse. They won it, but they won the very final possible round. They took round number 1 on Bank, and then 2 in a row from G2, and SSG never regained the lead. And now here on Villa, G2 has either held the lead or been tied for the entire series. Now, I understand that Space Station's a great team, but having to consistently battle back, knowing that you are trailing your opponent in round count, it weighs on you at some point. It can be really fatiguing. And if that fatigue does set in on Space Station, then that becomes an even greater problem than the scoreline that is above you that you have to deal with. Now, the one good piece of news is that there's a 5-1 trail that Space Station had on Clubhouse. And they still came back, because in Clubhouse, you need to win your defenses. There's still tons of potential for Space Station to do exactly what G2 just did. Take 4 of your 2 defending rounds, and we go on to OT and we see exactly what happens. But if you're gonna try to win your defenses, you can't let that happen. And Fabian will just shut Rampy down. Rampy gets a little bit too aggressive on the Dokkaebi of Fabian, who enters, and add insult to injury. Jonas will happily take one of the 2 yokais from Redeemer out of action, as G2 appears to have almost no trouble on that bottom floor.
Yeah, so one of the major problems for Space Station when they were attacking was the lack of a roam clear. I mean, it existed. They had some rounds where they really made it work. But I would say they had 2 rounds where they made it work. And that's why they have only 2 rounds total. That was a great start for G2, managing to take out one of the roamers early on, and that's going to give them much more likely a successful site take.
Interested to see what Pengu can be able to accomplish with the Blitz. Now, usually, when we've seen him run the Blitz on Villa before, he'll try and take Study and then maybe push on over to 90 hallway through Classical as well. It's a good spot to be in. There's not a lot of opportunities for crossfire. You're on a very straight path. Then you just turn on in and go right into the barn. Why not? There's very little to stop. And would you look at that? That's exactly what Pengu's going to do. There's a deployable shield all the way at the end of the hall, down by 90 though, so might give Pengu some pause, and smart move. Drone it out, figure out what's behind it, if there is anything at all. But look at that. All 4 members of Space Station in sight. There's nobody playing 90. And that'll be information that both Pengu and G2 will have in a couple seconds.
Pengu is a great operator for this situation. He's, of course, got the Legions, got the Echo, got the gas canisters to contest with potentially even a C4 from the smoke. Go for a hip fire. Just looking to get potentially some easy shots. It's unlikely to happen, but who knows? Jekyll hitting those Legion traps, of course, going to be absorbing them. Fabian will breathe in quite a lot of toxic smoke. He'll fall back. G2 still have the manpower advantage, yes, but these gas canisters are delaying so much. Cantor just narrowly misses out on a kill. Fabian's gonna shut down Bosco as he enters from the north doorway. And look at this, B-site's been isolated. Thinking Nate will eliminate Goga. That's through that hole that the attackers made earlier in the round. Cantor has control of Bar. Notice going for a plant just inside of Aviator, and there's no one to shut him down. Pengu's gonna have excellent cover. Chala eliminated. Inside a study, you can see the Legion contesting the shield, and he's actually gonna win that fight miraculously. Redeemer goes in for kill. He does not know where the IQ is positioned, thinking he's in such a tricky spot, but that's 3 for him. Redeemer gets himself 1, and it's a 1 versus 2, and oh no! Redeemer shuts him down! Space Station, a 2 versus 5 clutch.
You don't often see comebacks like that, and off of the play of Thinking Nade to just slice and dice through the attacker's man. Triumph on Space Station's side of things.
That round was over, man.
That round was so over, and you could see it for a split second on Fabian's face before the camera went off him. Astonishment mixed with anger. How the hell did we lose that in the position that we were in? Everything was in our favor. All
5 of those kills on 2 players for Space Station as well. It's very impressive when you see that. Thinking Nade and Redeemer both really stepping up in that moment. Redeemer has had some serious clutch moments at this tournament, and that's just adding to those moments. Also, on that note, Fabian has been fragging out.
Attackers need to locate and defuse.
And you would expect him to be able to win in that situation, to be honest.
Yeah. Fair point.
Well, also, we didn't see it. I'm curious what happened with Pengu instead of Study. He was playing on Blitz and somehow got taken out by Ticket.
Oh, we did see it actually, but just a second.
I missed it.
He was waltzing on through, Thinking Nade hit him in the shoulder a couple times. Pengu dropped the shield to try and go for a 1-tap, and he got it.
Oh, he went for the ADS?
The ADS.
That's unfortunate.
Game down the sights, and well, goodbye. That was it.
Unfortunate. Well,
that was a setup, though, from G2 that we saw in their secret matchup, the way that they played that.
10 seconds left.
They did something very similar with Pengu. Okay, you can't take a Monte and he's banned. Good ban by Space Station. Take Pengu off of Monte and put him on Blitz. Blitz is equally annoying in a lot of circumstances, but overall, the power that Monte has with his deployable shield is so much more valuable to G2. So this is going to mean that as long as Pengu runs a Blitz every round, a Legion is going to be an absolute necessity. Now, Space Station does run Legion often. Ever since they moved Bosco on the smoke, they've said that Thinking Nade is far more comfortable on Legion as an operator, and well, it suits this circumstances quite well. We'll see what the application is on Trophy and Statuary. It's going to be the scene for round number 8 and the second defense for Space Station.
Looks like a standard clear in a master. Fabian on an interesting spot, but he's just trying to bait somebody peeking into his window. No terrible surprise so far. Not sure what Pengu's trying to do. Is he trying to clear out underneath? We do have, it looks like, no presence downstairs right now for Space Station Gaming, and G2, being as efficient as they are at droning, seem to be aware of this. Having that information push into the building from Pengu, it's just going to be a formality at this point. He's trying to establish, yes, indeed, there is certainly nobody downstairs, and SSG do have roamers who are going to do damage. Just Thinking Nade actually in the site to eliminate Pengu from above, or at least so it seemed.
It's quite a grudge match that's developing between these two players, and so far Thinking Nade absolutely has the upper hand.
Yeah, Thinking Nade's been having a really good match. Immediately onto Goo Trap there.
One of the most annoying operators on G2's side of things gone. There's still a Jackal on Kanto. It's most fascinating to me. They've put Fabian on the Ashe. So literally realizing that he is the hottest player on the team, let's give him the Ashe and have him go absolutely buck wild. Yeah,
I mean, he's fragging. There's nothing else to say. Pengu being dead means he might be able to mark using Fabian's drone here and get Fabian an easy kill. It's going to depend on Fabian's position and reaction. Bosco has rotated though, so the mark's no longer an option. Chala is the linchpin player here, playing behind the astronomy desk, as you can see. The Ashe charges could be really powerful if positioned properly, but oh no. Just inches away from some devastation for G2. Redeemer's Yokai drone somehow managing to avoid his pistol. And the gas canister is going to force him back. But I think he did get the drone.
He did get the drone here. There you go. G2 out of nowhere on Rampy. Chala and thinking nade. Redeemer refrags one, and Bosco hits the deck quite literally. He'll need to come in back to sight. Both Redeemer and Bosco, when combined, still less than one full player on HP. Diffuser going down from Goga. With the Ashe watching the corner, there's Fabian on the 3-speed, and it's a diffuser denied. Redeemer falls off, but Jonas is there. And just as the Echo gets off of his device, well, there's a member of G2 just standing and waiting. That gap that Space Station was trying to close so desperately will grow yet again, and G2 will go up 5-3 as Space Station opts to take their tactical timeout.
Better now than never. Now last round, Space Station, we're in a really good spot, actually. They managed to clear their way, clear their way through Master Bathroom, and it seemed like they were going to be able to hold out Astronomy for a pretty long time there. What was that? Was that a camera? Just a random spray through the floor based on a camera? Wow, that's an impressive shot. Anyway, Space Station were in a good spot. After they took out Pengu, that's a lot of pushing power just gone. Following that, the push into Astronomy seemed to be pretty handily stopped by SSG. And G2 somehow, as you said, out of nowhere, managed to get 3 kills on the entry soundly.
In very short order.
Yeah.
That was almost like a Vitality-esque push. Line them all up, wait, and then somebody snaps their fingers, and all of a sudden a couple people die.
Old age Vitality.
Old age Vitality. Gotta go way back. So.
But you're right. No, I mean, I'm very surprised it worked for G2 considering they didn't have the Blitz anymore. And as you can see, they're going to keep bringing Pengu on Blitz, unless they're 6-picking it. There you go.
They heard you.
They heard me, apparently.
Nope. Yep.
Oh.
There you go.
Okay.
No 6-pick on part of Space Station. So you'll bring the Thatcher instead, realizing the Blitz hasn't really paid off. You can try 2 rounds. The Blitz was not the play. Blitz was not really that effective on the first round, on Aviator, even after you got the plant down. Pengu got a little bit too, I would say, aggressive.
Well, that last time, I think it's unfair to critique Pengu's play in that last round, but right. Yeah, in the one over by Study where we saw SSG clutch, 100% agree.
And then on that round in Trophy, well, he was the opening death, which is rare for Pengu on the roles that he plays. True. And I think that speaks to the fact that, hey, we tried the Blitz for 2 rounds, let's go with something else. SSG is going to continue to bring Elysian, as I said, because that's a comfortable operator for thinking nade. He works well, and the one thing about Elysian is that he fits. What do you need? Let's bring Elysian. Very similar to where Zofia does the same thing on attack. What do we can bring? Oh, what do we want to bring? Oh, let's just bring in Zofia.
Elysian's always useful. Doesn't matter the site, doesn't matter the situation. Universally powerful operator.
Well, unbeknownst to Space Station, there's going to be a Thatcher, which will mean that the Bandit batteries that have all been preset will be very easy fodder for the EMP that will fall down in front of the Master Wall. Ranged out on the balcony is G2. You got 2 members, you got the Diffuser there as well. Kanto Raketti's just going to watch and wait. As Redeemer tries his best to get his Yokai situated in a position, but as with many surfaces on many maps, Villa is no exception. Well, sometimes your Yokai is not exactly going to stick. I've actually been really impressed with a lot of the ways that Redeemer has played on that Echo. Might be the best set of plays on that operator that we've had from him in quite a while.
Agreed. G2 once again going for that master take. Still a lot of presence on the balcony. That Pengu's going for a North Repel, trying to take out Chala inside of Astronomy. Ooh, he just barely doesn't see him, but the reactions are on point. Pengu gets an easy kill there. This is a lot of HP, but I'm sure it was worth it in his mind.
Plenty of time for a reset as well if he wants it.
Yep.
Still over half of the round left to play. Jonas has taken some damage inside of Bathroom. He gets choked off by a smoke grenade of Bosco. So he's not going to be able to push on him.
The way that SSG is set up right now, the only person holding on to statuary is going to be Thinking Nade. Redeemer also can play the long angles on the entry points, but here we go. Ash from below, and no target-rich environment, but he has down Thinking Nade, who was the player inside of statuary holding on to the site. He doesn't seem to be aware of it yet, and there's nobody droning it from G2, so Thinking Nade could be recovered. It's unlikely, though. Rampy will get one for himself, and that's on a roam over by the main hallway. He's actually going to go in for the pickup on Thinking Nade. Redeemer's going to cover. Cantor Raketti goes down as he attempts to enter. Jonas is the second follow-up, but he's not going to get anywhere because the smokes are poorly positioned. With Thinking Nade back in the fray, he can lay down those goo traps, and oh no, Redeemer continuing to frag out from a B bomb site, leaving just Goga and Jonas in a 2 versus now 4, now 3 technically, with Redeemer on the floor. Bosco, excellent shot there onto Goga though, so it's just Jonas. In master bed, master bath now, going for the diffuser, challenging onto Astronomy, and Bosco's gonna shut him down. SSG takes it. What a lockout.
It takes 2 cracks at the site, but they'll finally get it. And now Space Station positioning themselves, down by 1 round, going back to Aviator, the site that they technically lost, and then retook. And ultimately ended up taking the round because of it. You have to be a bit better if you're Space Station on your defensive Aviator, because you cannot rely on a 2v4 miracle play. Not every time.
Yeah, I'm a little bit worried about Space Station going onto the site, to be honest. The way that they've been clearing out the roamers, and by they, of course, I mean G2, has been, wow, very efficient, very powerful. They usually get those early frags. The solution, it seemed, from SSG last time was to, hey, let's just roam less. And I don't know if that's really a solution, because Aviator Games is so easily encompassed by the attackers. You just get full control of North Hallway, 90, and Study, and it's done. I mean, stairs too, I suppose, but you get the picture. It's not hard to completely encircle his site.
All right, so genuinely can't hear what the people down below are cheering. But here's another stat for you. 4 G2 members are each over 75% cost. The highest figure on SSG is 67%. For those that don't know what cost is, it stands for kills, objectives, survives, or trades. Did you get a kill? Did you do something objective-based? Did you plant the diffuser, or did you manage to disable the diffuser? Did you survive the round? Or did you trade off an opponent within, I think it's 10 seconds? Shows your value and contribution to the team in ways that might not necessarily be reflected in kills and kills alone, because we said many times, the scoreboard does not tell the full story for what you do on this game.
True. Now, G2 seem to want to clear primarily from the northeast side, sensible. We haven't seen a whole lot of that from Space Station when they were on their attack of AVG, but it's a clear in unison for Jonas, Raketti, and Fabian. And they have full control of Astronomy, Statuary, Trophy, the whole shebang. With the north side on the top floor cleared out, oh no! As Fabian peeks into the main hallway, Rampy is gonna shut him down. An easy peek there from 90, it seems, and he'll just fall back. He doesn't need to challenge 90 any longer.
Child's gonna miss the bandit trick. I don't know if he'll be able to get this in time. It's gonna come down to the wire. Oh, he just barely gets it. And a tip of the hat to that, and just a bit of a faint smirk on his face as that one really came down to the wire. That's the kind of thing right there that doesn't get shown on the scoreboard, but that can hold your team together and even win you the round.
Now, we have seen situations where that goes the other direction too. Bandit from G2 in the last half is a good example.
Now, you lost the logic bombs on the Dokkaebi, but you still have a set of smokes on Cantor Raketti. You noted that on the trophy statuary side, the smokes were very poorly placed from G2. There's less room for error now on this side of things. So you'll see what the Jackal can do with those smokes. All the while, Goga inside a Study has managed to open up the wall, leading into Aviator Games. So it's in the game side of the thing. So on B bomb site, Aviator site, you can just sit pretty for the time being. You don't really have to worry too much.
You can see that all of SSG are clumped up and waiting for the push. Like I said, SSG has just decided to get rid of their roamers. Redeemer's going to shut down Pengu, though, so the anchor play working out so far.
It looks like Redeemer might have also caught the legs of a member of G2 through that hole, but we don't really know exactly. Kanto Raketti gets Chala, and Goga is there, as now Bosco's primed and ready. Oh no, they run out of bullets, and G2 just punch on in and fired up. It looked destined to be a tie game, but instead, G2 are sitting on match point, and Space Station will fight for their lives on the next 2 rounds.
And you know what that is? It's the lack of presence off site. Again, SSG allowed G2 to set themselves up for a push into site. And this time, instead of trying to rely on smoke cover and go for an objective play, G2 just decided to start fragging, and they certainly did. A lot of defaults from Space Station went uncovered.
It was wild because Redeemer picks off Pengu at the classical hallway door, but then immediately looks elsewhere. There was nobody after that kill went down from Space Station watching the door and watching a push from classical hallway, where 2 members of G2 were. Just simply thinking that, okay, we've got the only person pushing from that area? No, you didn't get him. There was still more, and then G2 took advantage of that, and that doorway is so problematic to so many teams that just forget about it, because you can just walk right into the site, and depending on the way that the defenders have set up those walls that lead into study and lead in aviator, you as an attacker can have all the cover in the world by simply going through that door when somebody isn't looking in the right direction on defense.
Poor positioning from SSG in that they had everyone in sight. Poor coverage from SSG in that despite having everyone in sight, they weren't covering the default pushes into the site. And that's the story of the round. G2 set themselves up to clear in, and they won the fights. Speaking of, G2 have realized the opportunity that they have with this site and have opted to bring a glass, which is going to be the perfect tool in that scenario should it arise again.
Drone is deployed.
It's also the first crack at glass that I believe we've seen in these 3 maps. Is that correct?
I don't. Yeah,
I want to say from my gut that we haven't seen a glass.
My gut agrees with your gut, Parker.
Well, if our guts are synced up together, then good things can possibly happen here, and well, we'll see what Jonas can do on the glass. We mentioned on Bank that it was surprising that we weren't seeing a glass, because Jonas has played this role many times before.
True.
Seeing it on Villa is interesting, because Glaz is able to just pin down the defense so effectively. Similar to the way that Capitao can work. In fact, G2 actually banned Capitao the last time that they played Mock-It on Villa, if my memory serves me correctly. But Capitao, an operator that we do see in Space Station's stable of operators, absent so far on Villa. So with that said, a minute has gone so far. You hear the telltale signs of Rampy's MP5 just plugging away as G2 line up inside a study. Perfect place for the glass to be, and the first smoke as it looks like G2 is going to try to end this one quickly. They have control. Smoke will choke out Jonas as he's trying to make his way back as there's that yellow gas. But Goga's in, going for the plant. Space Station is locked down for the time being. Goga stuck in barbed wire. Bosco takes out Pengu. Chala eliminates Jonas. And it seems like with Chala a double and Rampy 2, G2's gamble on pushing not working out one bit. Goga on a tiny fraction of HP has 5 members of Space Station fighting for their lives. But there's Goga on the flank. He sneaks his way in once again. Michael, that classical doorway, but Bosco pulls out the shotgun. One to the chest. Goga goes down, and we have a 12th and final round to determine if G2 wins this or if we need overtime between these 2 teams.
Space Station keep finding themselves in a terrible position and somehow working their way out of it. I am absolutely astonished by the level of play we're seeing from Space Station right now. That last round, it seemed like G2 had isolated the site and were able to get the defuse plant down, but it was stopped by the gas canisters from Bosco. Following that up, look at the flurry of kills from SSG. Chala still on a roam. No one's checking for that. Rampy, playing inside a gun vault, did so much damage on the push from the west hallway. Just in general, an excellent hold from Space Station. Glaz was very powerful there, but he wasn't used properly, and because of that, G2 could not win the fights they were presented with. We'll go to Trophy for the next defensive round. The last chance for Space Station to push us into OT.
It's a good thing they're not going to gamble on one of the sites downstairs. So far, we've actually only seen one go at a first floor site. That was Kitchen in round number 5. It was a successful defense for G2 after they had won trophy. Didn't go to Aviator, lost Aviator, but said went to Kitchen instead. On SSG side of things, it's been 3 for Aviator and now 3 for Trophy as well, just following the cycle as best as possible.
5 seconds.
We noted on Villa that if you go 4-2, then you win your side. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Obviously, but at the same time, you need to do that on defense. SSG is 1 round away from being able to do that, propel us in towards overtime. In which case, it comes down to really the team that defends twice out of those 3 rounds to have a significant advantage on this map in particular.
But remember when we said the same exact thing about Clubhouse? And then we saw, I think it was Space Station get the basement first. They lost the basement defense. Then we saw the basement defense we lost again. And then it was a successful basement defense the last round, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, things went completely opposite.
Yeah, it went the opposite way around of what you were supposed to see.
back.
Hey, Church has been defended 4 times, and it's been successful by the defense every single time. 100% success ratio. Oh, by the way, both overtime defenses at Church, attacking wins. Of course.
It was very confusing.
Yes. As Milos pointed out on the analyst desk, you almost always want to attack from the master side of things. It appears that there was an impact trick that might have stopped some of the XK from going off. It's up to Goga. So there's a singular hard breacher that is being used, and yes, that's actually correct. So there might be a prone hole that you have available, but that's about it. One other burst of the XK was used on the bathroom wall to give you line of sight down into Astro. You can hear the carbine of Chala playing in that position, and there's a yokai over the door as well. That can get very hairy for Jonas. If he pushes on out, get disoriented, and then pounced upon from one of the defenders playing in from SSG. You got Fabian downstairs as well on the Ash, just trying to do some soft destruction as best as he can, and oh! Fabian takes out Chala in a good joint effort from Jonas there as well, and the last XK will go off to allow a crouch hole into the master side of things and in towards the site of statuary.
That pick going to be so very important for G2. And they're setting up the pressure. They have astronomy control, but the gas canisters are pushing them back. Most of the attack from G2 coming from the master side, only Fabian on astronomy stairs. The yokai drone is playing with Fabian, delaying him significantly.
And 2 yokai drones still in play. Nobody's been able to figure them out. You got Goga looking to go for a plan. He's in sight, he's just by the statue. Jonas is gonna cover, looking for yellow bodies, cuts through Bosco, looking for one more. See if anybody bothers to contest him at all. Goga's seconds away from getting this down, and it's a post plant for SSG. Very difficult. So much blue on the screen, though, as Pengu tries to hold it together. He's the lone member at G2 to find the scoreboard after the diffuser goes down. There's been a miracle of a retake from Space Station so far. The lightning strike twice. Kanto Raketti goes for a rotate outside. Rampy juiced up with that stim pistol, looking for Pengu, but it's an easy kill on the thinking nade. And now Rampy in a 1v2. Looks around the corner, a pre-fire, but he's gonna make a lot of noise. He's not the fastest, takes out Pengu, but there's not a lot of time. He has to go for the defuse, but Kanto is going to play the clock, and we are dangerously close. Rampy knows it. Look at his face. Come on. It doesn't matter. G2 is there. Rampy, the impactless frag. He's upset, but G2 look to repeat, and they punch a ticket to the semifinals. If only there were a couple more seconds, showing the importance, Michael, of watching that clock, but it's a victory for G2. No overtime for Map3.
A well-earned victory at that, Parker. Beautiful match played by both teams, but G2 just barely managed to edge it out at the very end. It came about as close as it possibly could have. Kanto Raketti and Pengu managing to clutch it in the end, and as stated, well-deserved.
That is a heartbreaking loss. Dying seconds, you get the kill, you've got momentum on your side, but you're too slow, you can't get to the diffuser. Talked to a lot of players, Michael, you'd rather lose a 7-0 than what just happened there.
Yeah, it's devastating, it really is. And honestly though, I gotta, in the future, I can see SSG looking back at this with pride. They pushed G2 to the absolute limits, and they almost managed to win it as well. We were so close. on top of that, it wasn't just a victory of round after round, strategy-based wins, just outplaying your opponent. It was clutch after clutch.
Now, I mean, if you look back to the Rio finals that we had just a couple months ago, it was Immortals who actually gave the biggest challenge to G2. But that's no consolation prize because they still lost to G2 and G2 still ended up winning the whole thing over FaZe. So you might look back on this as Space Station and say we came 1 round closer than anybody else. That doesn't matter because you still get knocked out in quarters and G2 moves on to the semis.
A loss is a loss. Still an impressive loss. And again, G2 just were the better team in this scenario.
Yeah. So we'll hear from them in just a second when an interview is ready. Always outspoken, not afraid to share their opinions, and always honest about the things that were happening. It looked for a couple seconds there, the anger that was displayed and a little bit of worry possibly on their faces that there was going to be overtime. And I know that most people here wanted it, and for the excitement of a match, I think it would have been good to have, but not to be the case. We still have another match for you, but first, let's throw it down to the stage and hear what G2 have to say after their victory over Space Station.
Thank you, Terry. Thank you, Kicks. Thank you, SSG. But it is G2 in the semi-finals. What a game. What a match that was. Fabian, you and I have done this many times. You're always straight talking. You've always got a bit of bravado about who you're going to face next. But you always talk very honestly about the game you've just had. So that match was a lot closer than many people expected. I know a lot of people thought that would be a 2-0 for G2. Did you underestimate SSG, or is that just a bad start to the finals for G2?
I think if they're in the quarterfinals of the Invitationals, them taking 1 map, they should take 1 map. They're a great team, they played really well, and I don't think my heart has ever been beating that much in a game before.
You don't think your heart has ever beaten that much in a game before?
Not so far, but this is the Invitationals, this is the biggest prize pool, these are the best games.
You've had huge matches. You've played all over the world. You've been in finals in front of incredible audiences. You've lifted a hammer from an enormous comeback a year ago when you were 2-0 down in a grand final. But that match against SSG, that was a real heartbeater for you.
Well, in the final last year, coming back from 2-0, there's no pressure on us. We literally just played the game of our lives, and I think this game, in its own sense, was closer because we actually played a little bit worse than we should. We had a little bit of hiccups on Clubhouse. We came back on 2nd map mentally, and 3rd map, it's just Villa. I mean, defense side the #1, and then we won enough attacks.
So it's not an underestimation. It's maybe just a slow start to the playoffs for an incredible team like yourselves.
They're an incredible team too. I think we both had good starts.
There's been talk, warm round of applause. There's been talk about this season. There's been talk about G2's underperformance this season. Pengu's nodding. There's been rumors about maybe you guys have been holding stuff back for the Invitational. You know this. You've fueled this gently. You willing to tell us any more at this stage?
I mean, if I had secrets, I wouldn't tell you.
It's true, to be fair, but it was worth a go. So there's more to come?
Perhaps.
There's definitely more to see because you're going to the semi-finals. How much does it matter to you to win yet another trophy? Remember, that has your name on the back of it.
Well, I'm going for another name on it one more time.
One more time! Maybe more than that. We will find out. They make their way to tomorrow's semi-finals. The legends, ladies and gentlemen, G2!
A bit of a humble moment, to say the least. Even as Mount Olympus itself shakes at its feet, Space Station Gaming, unfortunately, much like Team Rocket, blast off. And this time,